to another episode of the Fanzone podcast. Your home for all things Bolton Wanderers, up the Trotters, the Northwest's #1 podcast.
Good evening then, ladies and gents. Welcome back to another episode of the preview show brought to you by us here at the Fanzone podcast and, of course, sponsored by the incredible Loving My Socials. If you want to find out any more about any of our sponsors, be it your headline sponsor for the preview show, for the post-match pod, or any other sponsors in particular, then if you head over to our website, www.thefanzonepod.co.uk, you can do exactly that. But this evening, ladies and gents, it is the preview show, and a very warm welcome to you all in the chat, channel members, and especially warm welcome to you. But there is some absolute scenes in the live chat this evening. We are joined by podcast royalty. Not just Ed Walker joining us this evening, Jake Tong. Warm welcome to you as well, my friend.
Oh, I don't want to be
Here he is. Well, I thought there was a funny smell.
I can't get rid of him. I can't shake him. It's so annoying. He never leaves me alone.
Love it.
But this evening, of course, ladies and gents, it is a Burton Albion preview, and who better to run us through the Brewers than Ed Walker? How are you this evening, my friend?
I'm very well, lads. I appreciate you saving me from having to watch Norwich Oxford. So this is a good use of a Friday evening, I think.
We could take that as a compliment.
Scenes.
Without further ado, we will get stuck straight in. Your first segment up first is, of course, season so far. So then, tides are a turning in Bolton Wanderers camp. Things are going rather swimmingly. Top of the league in the form table, may I add. But another team that are doing relatively well in recent weeks and have put some performances in I'm sure you will be proud of, Ed, is Burton Albion. You are certainly on the up, by the looks of things anyway. Your form has taken a positive turn. Whether it is enough to see you sort of avoid the drop is yet to be seen, of course. But just talk us through your season so far and how you've ended up where you are. Are you where you expected to be at this time in the season?
How long have you got? How long do you need to get through this season as a whole? In answer to the second part of your question, no one wants to be in the relegation zone of a division, so that's certainly the case. The start of the season and the summer feels like so long ago. I know it kind of is because it's about 8-9 months now, but it really does feel like even further back because we had so much hope and optimism for what was coming because it was essentially a new regime in charge of the football club. So we'd had a new change of ownership, Nordic investment from the Nordic regions, better finances reflected in the transfer window where we signed 23 players, which is a British record. I think I've said that to everyone now, but that is 23 signs in one summer window. You remember when Forest made a load in the Premier League?
Forest?
They made 22. We did one more than them. We actually beat them by that number. So yeah, that was busy. And you come into that naturally when you sign that many people, new exciting faces, you get a little buzz of anticipation about what's coming. The truth is now we can look back at the power of hindsight. We made too many errors with sorry recruitment, too many gambles. A lot of players who were very new to League One level, either coming from League Two or from leagues outside of England altogether. Not enough of them, especially in the first half of that year, hit the level required. And it just led to a, frankly, terrible first half of the season where I think we were bottom of the league. It was kind of us and Shrewsbury battling for 23rd, which is not something you want to do in a League One campaign, but that's where we were at the time. I think it took us about 4 months to actually get into double-figure points. And we've been playing catch-up ever since. And under our new manager that finally came in after 2 months of searching. So a 2-month period with an interim, which is, again, I'm not sure if anyone's had an interim period that long before, whilst mid-season, but so be it, that's the way. Trying to recover a bit more with some January signings and trying to now rescue ourselves. And because the first half of the season was that bad, we know the standard we've got set for the rest of the season now and essentially be like a top 10, top half side. So good positives so far with some of the more recent results, but we've still got to realistically try and find 5-6 more wins in these last 11 games of the season. So it's a big ask.
A big ask indeed. You are certainly up against it. But looking at form, like I said, form table in last 5-7 points taken, you sit 12th in the form table. So, I mean, looking at it on paper, I don't watch Burton Albion every week and I won't pretend that I do. But on paper, it looks like you could very well be in with a chance of avoiding that drop, if not relatively comfortably come the end of the season.
Yeah, it's one of the positive things to say. We had a period, I think, not even about 6-7 weeks ago, where we just felt like it was inevitable that we were going to go. The gap to safety was 11. It felt an enormous gap coming out of a 1-1 draw. I remember away at Crawley Town, which was a 6-pointer against a fellow side in the relegation zone, and you drop points from a winning position. You come out of that and just think, just try and delay this as long as you can and see if we can take it down to the last 2 weeks. They then go win 3 on the trot and close the gap to about 5 points from there. And now they've kept themselves off the bottom of the table, now basically to the top of the relegation zone. And we're trying to work out who the one to catch above is. There's a few candidates in there. Just trying to work out. There's a few in there. It could be Peterborough, it could be Exeter, it could be Bristol Rovers. We'll have to see as results go ahead. But it's now trying to exit this bottom 4 and try and keep ourselves afloat for another season to come. With regards to your form, I agree we are in a good position. It is worth saying we've got the toughest run of fixtures left of anyone in the bottom half. I've had a look, and the average position and points per game of the teams that we're playing is the highest of anyone in this current bottom 12. So we are going to have to pull off some scalps, get some major results. We've got yourselves, obviously, still got to go to Stockport, got to go to Wrexham, hosting Huddersfield, hosting Birmingham, ones that come to mind. We're going to have to win some of those. It's just the stand you got to set now in the second half of this year to get out of this now.
What's been the where has the upturn sort of stemmed from? Is it the managerial change, Ed? What has it been, do you think?
Or is it John Daddy Badvarson?
Oh, well, yeah, we are going to mention him.
I can say actually both. This is probably a fair answer. Yep.
Okay.
Gary Bowyer eventually appointed end of December. I was a bit skeptical about it at first because we don't have the best track record with managers, especially over long term. We've had a few years now basically having the same kind of season where you have a bad first half, you have to try and recover in the second half. And it feels like the managers we bring in tend to have a best of short-term success. We'll wait to see what that is with Bowyer. We can't really tell till this time next year, truthfully, how that goes, whether he can save us and kick on from there, or whether we're down in League Two and he tries to get us back up. We'll have to wait and see. But he comes in, eventually gets to stamp his authority on things after Christmas. We had spent the summer working with a director of football in charge of our transfers, and this January window was spent with Bowyer. So he just put his foot down, looked at the squad and said, you, and you, who are all regular starts of the first start of the year, you're not hitting the standards. I'm loaning you out. So we've sent our whole starting front line from the start of the season is now on loan at other clubs. Just that kind of authority is put in place.
Wow.
And the guy who's wearing the captain's armband for the first start of the year, he's now up in Scotland. So we've just completely changed it. Brought in a number of signings, including a certain one, of course, a certain Icelandic king. And it's had a positive impact. He's found a successful system in a 3-5-2 shape with high wing backs. It's just delivered a much better standard of football than what's been there before. And it's taken us, as I say, off the bottom of the table and back into the mix where we now got the belief back that maybe we could pull this off.
Interesting. Certainly seems like Saturday is lining up for a good game. I don't think. Well, I mean, the standout points I've seen from Wanderers Twitter over the last 2 days is that Stephen Schumacher hasn't won at Burton Albion, and I don't think we have in a considerable amount of time. So.
Yeah, but I would say there was a point where you'd never beaten us, and now that's gone. So it does. We keep staying in the same league, lads. It's going to keep changing at some point.
Yeah, well, yeah. In his interview, didn't he, that it's records are there to be broken. I know it's a cliche and whatnot, but it's. I think certainly the last few games. Say again.
Certainly a record we'd like to shift.
Yeah, I think. Yeah, we've certainly seen a change, haven't we, in the last few games in terms of playing teams who are there or thereabouts, either above us or around us, where normally we typically crumble and fold like a pack of cards. But 7 points from Orient, Wrexham and Birmingham. Honestly, Ed, we've not seen it for a while, and it's just been like a breath of fresh air with this fella coming in. Everything's changed, everything. So we'll see. It won't be an easy game, we know that. But
well, Speaking of things changing and a breath of fresh air, Chris, I think we should hand over for our injury update, don't you?
Ooh. Do this slightly differently for this preview show. Normally it's guests first, but we can get ours out the way dead quick because it's, again, something else that's changed at Bolton is
Fingers crossed, touch wood.
yeah, let's not curse that. The only real sort of doubt of any note is Will Forrester, who has been unbelievable for the last few weeks, certainly since the new manager's come into the building. There'll be a late test on Will. However, we saw a replacement step up against Birmingham, which was Chris Farino. It's one of those. How can you drop him after a performance like that? But one thing that Stephen Schumacher has done really well is rotate players that you probably wouldn't expect, the likes of Josh Ian, George Thomason, etc., etc. Obviously, we've still got the legacy injuries in Rico Santos and Kyle Dempsey, both who are now back on the grass at Lostock, training with the team again, albeit light training for Dempsey. And then obviously we've got Vic, who unfortunately will not be facing Burton or anyone for a while because he's having reconstructive surgery on an ACL. So disappointing. As I said the other night, we all wish him the best, but unfortunately he won't feature again this season. So a relatively clean bill of health. Ed, how are the Brewers looking?
This is the point where I extremely disappoint your audience. We are not certain that Yon Daddy will play.
Right. Good night.
I apologise. He has missed the last couple of games. I remember he was forced off with, I think, a sort of muscle injury and in the win against Lincoln from a couple of weeks back. And he's missed the recent two against Mansfield. Gary Bowyer has said he's back in training. It's kind of one of those assessment stages. We'll see where he's at. It's kind of touch and go, as the cliche goes. So I really hope he does play because it's a big occasion to play Bolton, of course, and he's pivotal to us. He just really is influential in that front line. That's the only real major miss I think we have at the minute. Roman Burrell was the other starting striker, was on the bench on Tuesday at Wickham for fitness reasons, came on to sort of towards the end of the second half. I think he might be all right for a start now. And we'll see if Keg Schalke, sort of regular kind of six holding midfielder, can come back into the team or not. And Terence Van Kooten is back from his suspension, which has confused all of us because the club said it was a 5-game suspension and it's now been a 3-game suspension. So I don't know what's happened there, but he apparently is now back. So that's him back into the starting defence.
What was the cause of the suspension?
It was his 3rd red card of the season. So we were confused whether this all piles up together into games. But he had a straight red against Stevenage, which I guess is standard 3 games, and he's had that. But I thought because it was his 3rd, it was going to add more on. And we weren't going to see him to the international break. But apparently, he seems to be back. So, okay, we'll take that.
Happy days. Happy days. I think as Kelly has mentioned in the chat, it's so frustrating because you just can't not want Yon Daddy to do well. He's just that kind of guy. And if he does play tomorrow, he will get a phenomenal reception from the Bolton fans. But he does have this tendency and this issue being injury prone, which is just ruins his flow. We experienced it. I think in all reality that if he had a decent run, that he'd still be with us because he's good enough. It's quite simple. He offers something different.
I mean, on technicality, you can't ask for much more at this level.
No. Have there been any other players who've made that same kind of impact or a similar kind of impact?
Yeah, the first 3 signs from the door in January have all had a really telling impact in this new look shape team. So I will touch on Young Daddy first. God, I just love him. He got 4 goals in his first 3 starts. I mean, what last Burton striker that did that, you probably go back to the 90s for that.
Yeah.
That kind of impact he's had there. And I just love. He's a guy you can just fire the ball up to and he'll just stick. It's really good to have, and we almost kind of play a kind of a 3-5. It's kind of like a 3-5-1-1 because Yon Daddy will kind of drop into a kind of 10 role to be a bit more. You'll fire it up to him, he'll get it down, try to pass it around, and his strike partner Roman Barella is a lot quicker. Will kind of sit on the last man, try and stretch the play in behind. So been hugely influential to have, and we've definitely missed him his last couple of games, no doubt, because the backup front line behind those two just isn't at the same level. Other new additions at left wing back, we've signed a lad on loan from Burnley, Owen Dodgson, who is everything you need from a left wing back. He's front-footed, fantastic deliveries on the left hand side, particularly when he gets his low-driven deliveries right. It can be really dangerous. Dan Daddy at the start of his tenure, he was queuing up to get on the end of those deliveries, especially when they're fired in towards the front post at good speed. And then JJ McKinnon, who's been added in from Lincoln City, who just brings a bit of height into midfield and is a nice, kind of good third man option to have. And he'll float to the back post to be attacking some crosses from deeper positions. So it's just brought a really nice balance to the team as a whole, those 3 coming in.
Excellent. David's just posted in the chat here that the EFL rule is 2 red cards is a 4-game ban and 3 red cards is a 5-game ban.
That's what I thought as well.
Yeah.
But apparently he's back, so we'll find out on Saturday if that's the case.
Let's keep it quiet. Or not. Maybe if he's decent, let's get it out there. No joke.
Send an email.
Yeah. At EFL. But no, fair play. But nothing surprises me in the EFL, especially when it comes to legislation, officials, and the like. My word.
Yeah, well, we could dedicate a whole podcast to that, but much more exciting news. If you are making the trip to Burton, it's pub watch. So, for those of you who like a little tipple and would like something to quench your thirst on your trip down to Burton Albion, Ed, where can the away fans stop off and get their hands on some booze?
Well, we're called the Brewers. We're known for our brewing heritage. To take your pick, quite frankly. But if you want the free choice, there is a designated away fan pub a little bit up Derby Road from the Pirelli. It's called the Beech Inn. That's beech spelled as in beech tree, so BEECH. Blue building on the edge of a sort of T junction on the road. Designated away pub, about 10-minute walk from the grounds away end itself. So get yourself in there before the game if that's where you want to go.
Yeah,
you heard it here first.
Yeah, no, we were in there last
Alternatively,
season.
if you can help us out, we've got loads of microbreweries in town if you want to take in one of those. So make the most of it. The town's known for its brewing heritage, so enjoy it. Especially like Carlsberg, it's up your street.
Right, I suppose we should face the what's the score? As always, ladies and gents, play along at home, get your score predictions in the live chat, and we will pull some up on screen as we go through this segment. But guess first, Ed, over to you.
I don't like predictions.
No.
I don't like doing them. I'm going to kind of explain my reasoning to this point here. I said this just before we start recording to you two. I'm in very firm take a point territory with this. We have 11 games to go. I'm going to be truthful. I'm probably most nervous about this one out of the 11 left. This Bolton team scares me. I wish you still had Everett. I think you've gone too early to change Everett. This is what annoys me. I think you should have kept him a little bit longer, had a little bit more relief, and then do it after this. Because now you go and get in Schumacher, who I hold in such high regard still. I think he's got fantastic stock.
So do we.
I don't use Stoke as a reason to drop his stock. I'm not having that at all.
No.
I adore. I really like the guy as a manager, as a tactician. The work he did with Plymouth Argyle, fantastic, and I think he's turning Bolton into a really dangerous side. That front line particularly scares me. I know what Aaron Collins is about. I think John McAtee's deadly, and we're starting to see Joel Randall look quite good too. So that's going to make me nervous on Saturday. That trio in particular, watching up there. So I'm in very firm. If we get a point, that's absolutely fine territory here. And admittedly, there isn't much shame in losing to you guys, given the relative positions in the table. But as we've kind of already gone on to, it'd be nice to keep that unbeaten home record if we could. It would be quite nice to keep that going. And you guys go up, and then we could just keep it, and we just stay apart for the rest of the time, and then we just have that. Because we've never lost at Sunderland, right? We've never lost the Stadium of Light, and now they're up there. I could just hold that and just say, yeah, that's fine. Yeah, happy. They could go to the Premier League. We could just say we've never lost there. Happy days. That's what I'd quite like to keep if we could. You want a score prediction from me? I am going to hold a little bit of positivity because it has been a while since we have lost to the Pirelli. I've been quite nervous this was at the U-Bowl just because of the contrasting strengths of the team at the minute, but I think we can get a result out of this, and I'm going to go with a 2-2 draw. Actually, let's have a bit of excitement on the day.
Desmond,
there you are. Chris, how are you feeling?
Well, after my last score prediction, if Gav's sorted is watching,
really, you think Burton will score 3 at Birmingham? Okay.
Oh yeah,
I've seen that clip. I've seen.
Wasn't not planned, honestly. It was absolutely genuine, brilliant. I'm gonna go. I just think we're flying at the moment, and getting better as well, which is the phenomenal thing for me. I'm gonna go with we will concede. I'm gonna go with a 3-1 to Bolton. And I think McAtee will score again because he's absolutely riding the crest of a wave at the moment. So
he's indeed. Two others have gone with you. Jordan and Anne also predicting. Oh, and Kelly. Kelly's gone with a 3-1 Bolton win as well. I am still optimistic, perhaps not so much on your wave, Chris, but I'm still going to go with a Wanderers win. But I'm going to go for a nice, hopefully not too difficult 1-0 win. I don't think my blood pressure can take the likes of Crawley again. I'd rather us avoid a situation like that if possible. Just something that's nice to watch, nice and enjoyable. Just a nice, quiet Saturday will do me fine. So it tells me I'm not in for that though.
No.
But I'm going to go 1-0 Whites. And hopefully a 3-point podcast to come on Sunday. But until then, you've been watching the podcast. But before we close off, Chris, I know I should have remembered, but you've got an important message that you'd like to share.
I have. Yeah. If I could just bring...
You want me to put it up for you?
There we go. So, Andy, if you're still in the chat, cheers for joining us, mate. So Andy Simcox from Red All Over has said this. Just seen the Earl video message to my dear friend Alan Smith. You guys are truly wonderful human beings, truly humbling. Many, many thanks. It's the least we could do. It was something that was organised by Colin. He reached out to Josh Earl. And just to put some context around this, Red All Over, who are an amazing podcast, even though they're from Barnsley. Good friends, been helping us all the way through. Amazing blokes and ladies, sorry. Unfortunately, Alan had some bad news and his mate earlier this week. So just wanted to just really say that we're all behind you, Al, and rooting for you, mate. We know that you're a stubborn old git, and you'll put a brave face on, but we're all here for you, mate. So, Alan Smith from Red All Over, the Barnsley podcast. We love you, mate. So, keep fighting. That's all I've got to say.
Indeed, and the messages of support coming through in the chat as well. Make sure you go over to Red All Over's page and share some of this as well, and send some love his way because I'm sure he will appreciate it. at a time like this. But thank you all very much for watching. Your contributions this evening are always appreciated. Thank you for making this show what it is. But until the next time, you've been watching the Fanzone podcast and the preview show, sponsored by Loving My Socials. Take care, and we'll see you all very soon. Bye-bye.
Come on, you whites.